And my whole thing was like, I want to be in a bikini and just like be on the beach and also just like think about medicine, and, you know, a little bit of school, have some fun.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Physio Diaries podcast. We are your co-hosts, Dr. Melanie Ziaziaris
and Dr. Koshevatskiy, where students, healthcare professionals, and wellness junkies come to get the inside scoop of the healthcare and wellness industry.
The podcast you didn't know you needed, by your favorite travel physical therapist.
Today we are going to switch things up a little bit because we have the lovely Mercedes here. She is a travel nurse, social media influencer, wellness girly, and a Scorpio. So prepare for all the energy today.
There's 3 Scorpios in the room. 3 Scorpios in the room, right? We already decided it's going to be for weeks.
We love the vibes. So we're going to talk about everything from nursing school, nursing secrets, life, and dating as a nurse in Chicago. So enjoy. Okay, so Mercedes, tell us a little bit about yourself, background, education.
Of course. Okay, so I grew up in the northwest suburbs. And originally, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I actually wanted to go pre-med. Oh. I was all set to go to San Diego State. And my whole thing was like, I want to be in a bikini and just like be on the beach and also just like think about medicine, and, you know, a little bit of school, have some fun. And my dad, he's also a nurse, and my mom's a physical therapist. Okay. And my dad was like, absolutely not. He was like, if you go, you're taking out a loan, and good luck. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. And he was like, stay home, get your associate's degree in nursing, work as a nurse, and then no questions asked. You can do whatever you want. You can go to San Diego after and like hang out in a bikini.
Sure.
So I lived at home. My parents helped me out with paying for my associate's degree in nursing, and it was a 2-year program. I graduated high school semester early too because I was like, oh, really?
Yes, literally.
I love that. So you were go-getters. But yeah, I graduated early. I went straight to nursing school, got my associate's degree, and I kind of hit the ground running. I gave myself a month to cite for the NCLEX.
Okay.
Wow. I applied to so many different jobs and specialties. Originally, I wanted to be a labor and delivery nurse, and you guys all found out that like that was not for me. It's a lot. But I ended up taking a position as a cardiac and neuro nurse out in the suburbs. I was still living at home. I lived at home for a year. And then I learned so much on that floor.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
The cardiac unit is intense.
Cardiac is intense. And then you mix neuro into it, and you're dealing with stroke patients and brain bleeds.
We're both together.
They were on the same floor.
Wow.
They were on the same floor. So I did that for a year, and it was a 35-bed unit. So it was gigantic. And I talked to my manager, and I was like, I want to try labor and delivery.
Yeah.
And we had a really good relationship, and she was like, okay, I'll send in your rec, and, you know, good luck, and let me know if you need anything. And she sent that in for me. I applied to labor and delivery. I did that. That was so short. We're like, oh my God, like not even a year.
Okay. That's right.
I did labor and delivery and postpartum. So I was cross-trained in both. And then my manager texted me, and she was like, hey, like for my first job, she was like, hey, want to come back? But like, I'll hire you as a travel nurse.
Travel.
And I was like, okay, honestly, at this point, like, I can't do babies. I can't do pregnant women. Like, and I like being right too. You cannot argue with a pregnant woman.
That's fair.
So I was like, this is not for me. He texted her back, and I was like, gladly. Like, I will come back to my old grandmas and grandpas. So I went back to the floor I was a new grad on, but as a travel nurse.
How were you out of the distance? Like, how did that?
So my healthcare system has this great program. They don't have it anymore, actually. But it's called Travel No Travel. So you get the travel rate.
I haven't heard of that.
You get the travel rate, but you don't have to. It doesn't matter where you live.
Yeah, I've never heard of
what the heck? It's just PT. I know. I'll get back to you. But you get the travel rate. So I was like, oh my God, this is a good gig. I know we're going to talk about like pay and everything.
Yeah.
It was a little more than double what I was making. Yeah. And I was like, that is life-changing money.
For sure.
And so I went back as a no travel nurse, and she just kept resigning me, and I stayed for a year.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and in the midst of all that, I finished my bachelor's online. So I was doing that
Okay.
while working. I know. Girl, I was trying to. I was like,
We can't calm down ever. We're always doing something.
no, like, I get anxious when I'm not doing anything. Like, this energy needs to go into something, or I freak out. So I finished my bachelor's while working, and then I was like, okay, I'm done with my bachelor's. Like, what's next? And then I applied to DNP school and got in.
Yeah.
I started in August. And I keep telling myself, like, the time is going to pass anyway. Like, I want to, like, in 4 years from now, I want to be, like, 4 years later with a doctorate in nursing, then 4 years later without.
For sure.
So now I'm in doctorate school, and I switched over to a new position where it's called being a resource nurse. So they just put you wherever they're short-staffed.
Gotcha.
And I can go to 4
kind of
different
float?
hospitals. Yeah, it's the same idea as float.
Gotcha.
But there are 4 different hospitals, and we do all the specialties. We do ortho, neurosurgery, neuro, cardiac, urology, literally everything. So you kind of have to be like a jack of all trades. But it's been such a good gig while being in school.
And great learning experience.
Great learning
so
experience.
much.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I feel like that's the thing with working in healthcare. You kind of commit to like a lifetime of learning.
Yeah, totally.
Like, you're not, and you don't know what you don't know until you get to work and you're like, I didn't know that, but okay.
Or sometimes, like, in practice, I'll get a case because we both do travel PT. So, like, we're exposed to so many different locations, settings, everything. And sometimes I'll get a case where I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I paid attention more to that in school because we did talk about it, but briefly. And I was like, I'm never going to see that in school or like in practice. And then you're like, oh, well, here we are.
We learn so much, I feel like.
I'm sure you guys do too. Yeah.
Then you go in and you're like, wait, like, I learned about that, but I was not paying attention.
That's of your brain, like, somewhere.
Yeah, but I mean, that's basically the gist of like,
Okay.
it's like a 4-year recap.
Yeah. How long is the school for the doctorate?
So they gave us 3 different options. There was a 3-year track, 4-year, and 5-year.
Oh shit! I didn't realize it.
Yeah. So the 3-year track, they didn't recommend to us, but they were like, you will virtually not be able to work.
Yeah.
And they were like, but we recommend you to still be in practice, which I love.
Yeah.
So I opted for the 4-year track. But I actually work with some of the girls that chose the 5-year track just because they have families and like husbands
and stuff.
and responsibilities. Like, I just have to worry about keeping myself alive. So I'm like, we'll do 4 years.
That's enough of a responsibility.
Yeah, no, honestly. I'm like, school's my child, so we'll do 4 years.
Well, speaking of school, we do have a lot of like pre-nursing listeners that are interested in learning about what nursing school was like. So can you just tell us a little bit about how it's structured with like clinicals and your classes, things like that?
So at least for my associate's degree, we took pre-nursing courses. I think it was like A and P, so anatomy and physiology, and then microbio we took, and then like, like your chem, your stats, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that was before you applied to the program.
Okay, so your prereqs.
Yeah,
like all that. Yeah.
It was the prereqs. And then I think microbio was like extra points too. So it's like, if you take this, like, there's more of a possibility you'll get in because then you don't have to take it while you're in the nursing program. And then when you get into the nursing program, I believe that the first year you took your med-surg, and then alongside that, you had your med-surg clinical.
Okay.
And then you took med-surg 2, and then you had your med-surg 2 clinical. So each semester, whatever class you were taking, you took the clinical that was alongside that, which is, I thought was great.
Yeah, yes, they're applying at the same time.
Yeah, and I'm like such a hands-on learner. So like that really helped me. But I mean, that's basically how it was structured. They really do teach you like the basic concepts, but mostly how to take the NCLEX.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So they teach you how to take the exam. And I don't know if it's the same for you guys.
They definitely structure it like that. Like, we would definitely have some classes and some tests that we were like, where the fuck did this shit come from? Like, what in the world? It's like, and then it's like they're just trying to prep you for the exam because the exam's going to throw stuff like that out and really try to trick you and stuff. So
in the exam too, like, it updates kind of every year. But so in practice, I personally don't use a lot of ultrasound.
Yeah.
But they still teach it in schools just because it's on the exam. So it's like kind of beside a little bit in practice, but it takes like a couple years to update. So we're like, why are we learning this if like you've never seen this in our clinicals?
Literally.
But it's like they're preparing you for boards. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like they definitely taught us in a way to for the NCLEX. But the majority of my learning was at work.
Yeah.
And I feel like people are nervous about that because they're like, oh, like I graduated nursing school with a C average. Like, how am I going to practice in the clinical setting? But I will say my dad works in administration for the healthcare system that I work for, but he's been a psych nurse for 20 years. So he's done like the application process and like he hires the new nurses and everything. And I think people are under the impression that you need to turn in your transcript when you apply for a nursing job, but you don't. Yeah, like
It's true you have
no,
it's just a degree.
yeah, and you don't have to put it like on your resume either. I know some people do that too, but my dad's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I do not care because I will like get the read on the person during the interview, and you can be such a good test taker, but that doesn't mean that you are a good person.
Yeah, and you
Right.
have to have like people skills, like
Yes.
first and foremost, because skills like nursing skills and PT skills, those can be taught. Like always, you can always learn, but people skills, that's something that you either just
I know. Yeah.
know.
And I feel like off an interview too, you can like gauge like the person's willingness to learn
True.
just from that. So I mean, all that to say, like, don't stress about your GPA in school. I think the main thing is to pass. You're already doing such a hard thing. And I know like I'm the oldest of 5.
Oh my goodness.
So like I have perfectionist tendencies. So when I don't have an A, I'm like, why don't I have an A? I kind of like take it out on myself, but it's like you're still a great nurse at the end of the day. Like your patients don't know you didn't get an A in microbiome. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we talk about that a lot with PT school. Like, so many people are stressed about getting the A, getting all those points.
Yeah.
And it's like, literally, what is the point? Like, in the real world, like, you're going to get a point out for biomechanics? No. The patient's going to care about how you're talking to them, how you make them feel, like, all
Exactly. Exactly. And I wonder if it has to do with like the nature of women in healthcare too.
Good point. For sure.
I feel like I saw this one TikTok and it was like healthcare is the only field it seems like where women come after women. And they are such piranhas. And I'm like, no, but seriously.
Yeah.
And it's like I hate to say this, but it like sometimes it feels pretty cutthroat.
Yeah. And even having the difference between, so I had most of my clinical instructors were males.
Okay.
But I had a couple female clinical instructors, and the difference between that, I could just tell that the women were actually a lot more strict.
Mandatory.
I think they felt like they had to prove themselves in the profession versus the men were so chill. They're like, yeah, you can do whatever you want. But I think women feel like they have to prove themselves because we want to get our patients respect, other providers respect versus like,
No, yeah, that's so true. I will say though, like my favorite scene in the hospital is when I see like women in their white coats just like strutting down the hall and there's data empowerment. I'm like, I love that. So I'm just gonna admire from afar. And it's like all the neurosurgery PAs and like surgeons just like strutting, and I'm like, yeah.
So,
it's so
my favorite provider I've ever had, she was a OBGYN. I came into her office, first of all, like the best vibes ever. There was like a little waterfall. It was in Chicago, actually, Ottawa, Michigan Ave.
Wow.
She came out. She had this cute little like pixie cut. She was wearing a dress and heels, and she was strutting her stuff. She gave me some essential oils when I came in. Like, you would love that. Amazing. And I was like, you can look like that and be very professional. And she was one of my favorite, like, healthcare workers I've ever worked with. Like, it was so good. Like, I was so comfortable with her. And that just, when you said that, like, strutting herself, I'm like, I just heard her in that little dress. And I'm like, she looks amazing. She's a doctor, and she's like, does a bunch of like, she's a speaker, like, across the whole country.
Wow, yeah. I left it to her later because I was like,
That woman was amazing.
just like mind blowing. Oh my God.
Just like her.
No, seriously. I see some residents and interns at work, and some of them are moms or they're pregnant, and I'm like, how?
Literally how. I think about that all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
Because I have a mini mental breakdown when I have to bring myself to work. So like myself plus a baby, like I could not imagine.
No.
Yeah. We had some classmates that had kids. And like, I would always tell myself anytime I was struggling, like, you know what? It's my struggles right now. Look at them. They have a child at 15.
No, they just like,
I can do this.
They have a pickup time for daycare. Yeah. I don't know how they do it. But like, that's all to say that like women in healthcare are so amazing though.
They are.
And like, I feel like people don't get like a grasp of that, you know? Yeah, seriously.
Okay, so with travel nursing, is it true that you have to do 1 year like non-travel before you can start travel?
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I did like a travel, no travel program.
Yeah.
But I did look into some agencies, and a lot of them did recommend having at least 1 year of experience. And I think with that, it's because if you were to start at a new hospital with an agency, your orientation time is very short.
Oh, I see.
So you need to know the basics. You need to have your workflow down. And you just need to have like good critical thinking skills intact. But I don't even think like 1 year is enough for that.
Really?
Yeah. So I did like 2 years of like staff nursing before I just like came back as travel, no travel. And even at 2 years, I was like, I don't even know if I know like have the grasp of everything.
Yeah, like the learning curve of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say was like would be the hardest part as like a new grad going into travel?
Into travel, I think just learning even like the workflow of some health systems. I think the biggest things are like the technical things, like how do I page this doctor? Like what do you guys use for communication? What's your charting system? Like those are all the things I feel like are a little more difficult. And that's why I say like if you have 2 years and you have your workflow intact and the only thing you need to get used to is like the paging system, the hospital's policies, then I think you're in a good place.
Yeah. Are they usually using the same documentation system? Do you guys usually use Epic in the hospital?
We use Epic. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm an Epic girl.
Yeah, I love Epic. I love it right now, and it's so great. Yeah, we got used to it.
I love Epic. Yeah. If I were to find a new job, like I think one of my questions would be like, so do you guys use Epic? If not, like I'm not interested.
It's off the list. That's your read out question.
Yeah, like no Epic, I'm good. Which like an Epic partnership, you guys, come on.
Epic, hit us up. I love you.
I keep seeing these memes and it's like everything is a dating app if you make it a dating app. And it's like like the Epic chat.
You have your little chat bot. Yeah.
This is so funny.
I was also going to ask you because as a traveler, I've had a little bit of experience with this, but depending on the place that you work, certain permanent like therapists, nurses can have an idea of or the way that they treat travelers.
Yeah.
And they know they're temporary.
Yeah.
They're making good pay.
Yeah.
So what has your experience? What has your experience been like?
I think my experience was a little more difficult just because I was a staff nurse on this floor.
Okay.
And I left and I came back to do the same thing, but as a traveler and getting paid more. And my response has always been like, no one's holding a gun to your head telling you to be a staff nurse. Like you could have done what I did. You just chose not to. But also the fact that as a traveler, I didn't have any benefits. Like the only thing I had was a 401k.
Gotcha.
That's all
Through the hospital or through the agency or on your own?
Through the hospital.
Okay.
So I just had my 401k. Like I didn't have any PTO. I didn't have any sick time. If I did not go to work, I was not getting paid.
Yeah.
And the way I wanted to schedule myself at work was on the very bottom of the totem pole since all these nurses had seniority over me technically since I was coming back as a travel nurse. But I mean, they really gave me the hardest assignments every time. And I would always
definitely do that.
And they always say like, oh, it's because you're making more money.
Yeah.
But like,
That doesn't
they're not
justify it.
safe. These are not safe assignments.
Okay.
So I'm very huge on like speaking my truth, especially at work. If I think something's not safe, if I feel like I'm being disrespected, then I will definitely say something. Not just because like I feel like it'd be hard on me, but like at the end of the day, I want to leave my patients better than I receive them. And if you're going to make that impossible for me, then like I'm going to need to have a conversation with you about my assignment, especially if this is going to be my assignment for 12 hours. That's a long time.
Yeah. Good for you. And because a lot of people don't speak up. I feel like, especially for nurses, it's like hard.
Yeah.
And then you're like getting put in a difficult situation or your patient's at risk. And at the end of the day, that's like the number one thing.
Right. I think what really helped me was the fact that I had a good relationship with my manager and she like helped me come back. So I would talk to her about like any issues I had with like assignments or like the floor in general. And I mean, she was super supportive of it because I mean, she cares about how like the outcomes of our patients and like how the unit's doing. So yeah.
No, I 100% agree with that. And I think the managers is what can make the biggest difference in like travel assignments. Because like I always say, one great thing about travel, whatever profession, is you learn what manager styles and leadership styles you like and don't like. And it's so interesting to see that. Like now I've been in 5 different clinics.
Yeah.
And I've seen so many different management styles. And the one I absolutely did not like, actually, it was also a woman. And she tried to treat me like a student, would try to like put my schedule, like triple on my schedule with the eval. And I'd be like, I can't do this. Like, and so many people try to walk all over you, like people listening that want to do travel, people try to walk all over you because you're a traveler and making more. So you like really have to stand your ground and like vocalize.
No, totally. And my huge thing is, like, I would tell people you don't have to be like stagnant in your own life. Like, you don't have to be super passive and just be like, I'm just going to this job because I have this job. Like, if you truly want to make more money, like, then go do it.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not here to listen to you complain about it either. Like,
If you are going to complain, do something about it.
no, seriously. And like, the thing is, like, you can't expect like a different outcome by doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I know, and sometimes therapists will do the same thing. Like they'll eval a patient and like they'll put them on your schedule because they didn't like vibe with them as much. I'm like, you can't do that. Like you have to keep your patients that you evaluated. But as a traveler, sometimes you don't get a choice. But I feel like with every contract, I'm on contract number 5, and I feel like I've started to speak up more and more because I'm like, I'm not dealing with this bullshit.
Yeah, because you got time
3 months, we gotta get along.
Yeah, totally.
I also think that with like building that confidence too, that definitely takes time because at first you're like, for us, we were new grads.
Yeah.
You could just go straight through. And I definitely felt like those times where I was like, oh, I feel like I can't like speak up as much. Like I'm a new grad, or are they going to respect me?
Yeah.
Blah, blah. And so imposter syndrome is definitely related to that. How have you felt imposter syndrome? What's your experience with that?
Oh God, I feel like at the very beginning of my nursing career, I did, just because like COVID hit in the middle of me being in nursing school.
Oh, gotcha.
So we were literally like doing all our skills on like plastic dummies, if anything. And then I got thrown into these COVID rooms, and I started my career when I was 21.
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
And I was like, I'm literally a teenager. I still live at home. I'm driving my car from high school. I'm taking care of all of these COVID patients in the middle of a pandemic. When's the last time a pandemic happened? And why am I the one to do it? Yeah, like why am I the one to do it? But then as the time has gone on, I've like told myself like you are exactly where you need to be. Like even with being in DNP school now, like sometimes there are days where I'm like, I can't do this. But it's like I wouldn't have been accepted if they didn't think I could. And I'm sure it's the same way for you guys, right? Yeah.
Yeah. There would definitely be times in school and in clinicals where I'd be like, dang, I like really have to do this. These patients are trusting me. I'm supposed to have all the knowledge and education and like comfort them and know the right things to say and do. And like I'm still learning. It can be heavy.
Irish girl, I tell myself like it's time to girl boss. Like you'll be fine.
The transition from going to being like a student and like, so with our clinicals, you always are paired with like a CI or clinical instructor.
Okay.
And so they're always, even towards the end, they're always nearby if you have questions, or like some will look more over your shoulder than others. Others will be like, go like getting cookies or something from like the cafeteria, and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, but okay.
Glad they trust me.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm glad you trust me. But going from like being a student like that and knowing like, you know, you have somebody to lean on at times versus like taking your first big girl job.
Yeah.
I was like looking like, where is my CI? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing. But it's like, it's a big shock, but it's like also a good feeling that you can make those decisions.
No, totally. And I think the biggest thing is like having trust with your coworkers. And I know it's hard for you guys because you travel, and like it was hard for me too because when I came back, people were like she's freaking back, you know. But like those are the people that you're kind of stuck with, and like at the end of the day, like they may know all these things you don't know, and then like vice versa, they might come to you. So I think like that's the biggest thing is just knowing like you have people to ask questions to.
For sure. Yeah, I feel like one big concern I had as going into traveler as a new grad, I was kind of thinking like, am I going to learn as much as I would if I was like at a permanent place?
Yeah.
But actually, I love it because I'm exposed to so many different clinicians that have so many different backgrounds, and people in PT are like so willing. If I see them doing something like at the table next to me, I'm like, hey, what were you doing with that like mobilization? Can you show me?
Yeah.
And if they have like a second to show you, like they totally will. So like part of it is just not being afraid to ask.
No, seriously. And I'm like,
the worst that
I'm sure they kind of love it because they're like, oh.
Well, we were curious also on some like nursing secrets or Koshevatskiy.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So like I had no idea like how many acronyms I didn't know. Acronyms are a good one.
Yeah.
Because I was getting a report yesterday, and I love this nurse to death. I hope she doesn't watch this and think like Mercedes is talking about me. No, like seriously, she was giving me a report, and she was like, yeah, like I got a report that this patient has a PE, but she didn't have time to like read the chart because like day shift is crazy. Yeah. And I was like, okay, so where's the PE? Like, and what are we doing? And I look in the chart, it says pleural effusion, not pulmonary emboli.
Yes.
Okay. And like I totally get that because if you were a new grad, you would think like
I would think PE.
Yeah.
When you said that, I thought
pleural
like
effusion, like
pulmonary embolism. That's
that's what you thought. But it's like if I came in as a new grad, like a pleural effusion, like I could understand how that would happen. Yeah. Learn your acronyms. They will take you funny too.
Yeah, I know. Saves so much time. And have you seen those like videos where like someone in nursing will send like their boyfriend a passage with like all the acronyms and they have to guess what it means?
No, like seriously. And you're reading the medical history and you're like DVTPI, CKD. It's literally our own language. I feel like learning the acronyms like made me feel a little more confident. Yeah. So I think that's a good one. But my biggest tip is just like stay humble in the workplace and let the people who are teaching you talk. So like listen. Just like do not interrupt them. Listen and then ask your questions. Because as a preceptor, I honestly would get a little annoyed when I'm trying to tell someone something and like teach them and they're like interrupting me and I'm like, that's not what I was gonna say though. Yeah. Just like listen to me. And then if you have questions, like let me know. I think those were like my biggest tips.
Yeah. What about, do you do anything for all the smells?
Oh my God.
Because that is so I literally could not stand the ICU.
No, it's so funny that you mentioned that because yesterday I went back to my old unit, like, but as a float nurse. And I was at the station and I was like, it smells so bad. And I looked at the PCT next to me and I was like, girl, you smell bad. And she was like, it's not me, it's room, whatever. I literally got a simple face mask and I put toothpaste and then another toothpaste. And then another simple face mask, like sandwiched in between, and then just smelled like mint.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of Vicks, like under the nose, but I haven't heard of the toothpaste.
I just didn't do toothpaste because they have it on the unit. Yeah. But that's how I do for the smells.
Yeah. I could not stand the hospital smells and sounds.
I know. It's like really, the people think hospitals are clean. They're not clean. Girls are not clean. They're dirty. But I think that's a good tip. Also, like, have good shoes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you're on your feet all day. And
yeah.
What do you like to wear?
I'm a Hoka's girl.
Me too.
Yeah. I love my Hoka's. I think my other tip is on my badge reel, I have a little chapstick holder. Cute. So that's a good one.
Yeah. Perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always have chapstick with you.
I was gonna say, yeah, I spent I think it was 6 weeks in acute care in a hospital in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I think I quickly learned that it was not for me, but it was also like the patient population. We were doing a lot of transfers with people that were like 400 plus pounds. Some of them were like non-weight bearing on one leg. And I'm like, you want me to help lift that guy? All right.
Oh my gosh. How do you guys feel about, wait, did you both do acute care?
We had to.
You had to. Okay.
Yeah.
I always laugh when we get this patient who's like, we get patients who've been bedbound for 5 years and then they put in like PTOT and they're like, what do you want us to do? What do you want me to do? What do we do? You want me to make them walk again?
The worst was in like, because we would start at I think 7 or 8 o'clock. But breakfast was served at like 8 o'clock. And so they want us to go see patients, but that meal times are like sacred to people.
Yeah.
And so if they want me to go see someone, I would try maybe 5-6 people before I got somebody to like agree to walk to the bathroom with. Yeah. But like they'd look at their food, be like, are you crazy, girl? Like get out of my room. Like they hate to see PT coming. Like they really
do.
Yeah.
Like so in school, my clinical for acute care was actually cardiopulmonary.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Nice. I learned so much. I had a pretty good CI, but she was definitely tough on me. But we would just get so many patients that were just like so freaking deconditioned, barely can stand and walk. And I definitely learned the importance of like bed mobility and like still movement. But it's just, and I couldn't even imagine how you handle this, but like their mental state and like psychological just well-being is never great.
Yeah.
Most of the time not great. And it's so hard to just even like get them to do anything and talk to them and even tell them the importance of like even doing some type of movement in the bed.
Right. That's so true. I always feel like move it or lose it.
Yes. People like, I just don't think it really clicks with most people.
I know.
Like atrophy literally happens
It
within the
does.
week, within days. Like your muscles will start to atrophy if you don't use them within days.
I know. When I like work day shift, because now I'm on like a weird like PM shift, but when I worked day shift, I was like, everyone to the chair. To the chair.
Oh,
You
you're
were
laying in bed all day.
Yeah, you were eating all your meals at the chair. We were walking to the bathroom. We were going the far way. We're getting off. Like
You're the type of nurse that we love.
I'm like, we're getting off on the edge of the bed that's far from the bathroom.
Yes.
Like, and you associate the bed with sleep, and the blinds are open during the day, and we shut them at night.
Yeah.
Because then you're just gonna feel more sick, and you're gonna eat your meals. So
Yeah, you have to have some sort of schedule. Like,
Yeah.
you get up in the morning. You can't lay in bed all day.
I know, and also like the delirium occurs when
bad.
you don't know if it's night or day or
Yeah.
yeah,
Do you deal with a lot of like patients that experience that hospital delirium then?
a lot, especially if they come from the ICU.
Yeah,
Then
I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's really bad, and a lot of them happen on like full moons. I will.
Yeah, I totally believe in that.
I'm not working any full moons. This year I worked 4 full moons. No.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot.
I use Nurse Grid, and they have like you know how they have the Spotify like rap? They have a Nurse Grid rap, and it tells you how many hours you worked, how many full moons you worked. I worked 4. Next year's going to be 0 because I can't deal. Or there needs to be a shift differential for that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
That's so interesting. I didn't know they had an app like that. That's so cute though. You could see that.
Oh my gosh.
Look into it.
Yeah, the sundowning gets crazy on full.
Oh my gosh. No, it's just like. Well, we kind of touched on this, that also like working in the hospital can be a lot because you're dealing with basically people's possibly like worst day of their life all the time.
Yeah.
So how do you kind of deal with some of that like emotional aspect of working as a nurse in the hospital, and what do you do for like self-care during your week?
So I've definitely had some silent drives home, you know, where I'm kind of like, how did I get here and everything. But I think my biggest tip is to like lean into your friends and family. I know that my mom calls me a lot to check up on me just because she knows I'm like the oldest daughter and I'm just like super anxious all the time. But I mean, just letting people take care of you. And I know it's hard for me to do that because I'm so used to taking care of other people. So, I mean, like going out to get coffee with your friends, like taking a Pilates class with your friends, moving your body. That's a huge one for me. I feel like I do a lot of sitting at work, even though I probably should like be up on my feet. But also just like making sure my space is clean. That's a huge one, especially because I live in the smallest studio in Chicago. That is way too expensive. And just like, you know, just making sure my surroundings are, you know, good vibes, good energy.
Yeah. The energy for sure. I totally get
You can
that.
feel it.
Like if I get home and like there's dishes in the sink and like the bed's not done and just all over the place, I'm like, oh my God, that makes me more anxious and more stressed.
Yeah, I 100% agree because like I can't relax when I get home if the place is dirty.
Yeah.
Like my boyfriend, totally different. Like he goes straight to the couch. He can relax. He can watch TV for hours. And I'm like up and moving and cleaning everything. And then once everything is done, I don't have anything on my to-do list. I'm like, okay,
That's
now I
so
can
true.
relax. I get kicked back.
Yeah, I think people also think that like when you're off, you should be relaxing, but like you can do whatever you want that like makes you feel good. Like if cleaning makes you feel good, it makes me feel good. Then it's like that's what I'm gonna do because then you'll feel better. But I think those are my biggest tips. Just like know what you need. You know, let people take care of you. Let people buy you dinner or coffee.
I was also going to say, because you said your dad was a nurse.
Yeah.
Is he part of the reason why you think you went into nursing? Like seeing.
Yeah, it's really funny that you asked that because I remember when I was in nursing school and I asked my dad to help me with like right-sided and left-sided heart failure. He was like, I don't know. He's a psych nurse. He's a psych nurse. So I'm like, to think about that. Yeah, he's like, you'll be fine. Just like read your textbook. And I'm like, okay. But also, like, let me say this. My dad is the most amazing man I know. He is such a great nurse. And like I admire him every day. And he's super successful in his field. And he works 2 jobs so that my mom can like hang out at home. And the guy filled his NCLEX 3 times.
Wow.
So
And look at him now.
And look at him now. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Filled it 3 times. Yeah. When I took my NCLEX, he was like, how many questions did you have? I said 75. He was like, okay, so you're either smart enough or you were so dumb that they were like, there's no saving her.
Because it increases, right? Like it can keep going.
And I was like,
I forgot about that.
yeah. Ours is so like, you get to 75th question, you're like, okay, like it'll either keep going or my exam will shut off. And mine shut off. And I was like, oh, kind of like I could have just hit the point of no return. And they're like, you're done, girl. Like, don't even try anymore. Or you can't.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Okay.
successful guy, works in administration now.
Cool.
Failed his NCLEX 3 times.
Yeah. I actually really like working on the psych unit as a student because those people were the most mobile. They were so easy to get up. They want to walk back and forth, and I loved it. Like I had conversations with them. Like I knew going in there physically, it wasn't going to be like a demanding job, versus like lifting the people, that are a little bit heavier, doing like Hoyer transfers. Then I go into the psych unit and be like, all right, who wants to walk? And there's like so many people that want to hang out.
And they all want to hang out. Yeah.
Yeah.
That goes into my other thing of like, I love when I can get along with like the most difficult patient on the floor. But then I'm kind of like, wait, why? Why was I able to do that? I love that. Yeah.
That's really funny that you say that because in my last job in Washington, my front desk came up to me literally 5 minutes before this patient was about to arrive. And they basically found out that this patient was just like basically a creep.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm like, you know what? I love a good challenge. Like, bring him on. Yeah. I regretted it 30 minutes into the session. I'm like, this guy is so weird. Like, I was like fighting so hard because I'm like, I'm going to stay strong. And like, we literally had to have a male PT sitting and watching the session because he kept asking me to like go back into a private treatment room. And I'm like, what? That's not happening. I'm sorry. But I love a good challenge. But sometimes I'm like, girl, you need to step back next time.
I did.
And I learned challenges.
Yeah. My thing too is like from patient, it's so weird from patient to patient. Like I could have my sweetie, like 9-year-old cutie pie in one room. And then the next room is like the guy who's super difficult, who's telling you to go F off. And like the fact that the vibes are different between the two, I feel like I'm putting on like different masks between each patient, which is kind of crazy.
I mean, yeah, you kind of have to like code switch for certain types of patients.
You gotta take up the time.
Yeah.
To make it work. Oh my God. Yeah, absolutely. Because I could be matter of fact with one guy. Like, okay, you don't want to be MPO?
Right, like straight up.
Guess you're not getting your life-saving procedure today. Sorry. And then the next lady, I'm like, okay, what do you want in your coffee? Do you want to create? Low incorporated? Yes. Obviously. No, it's just so funny how we have to like go about those things.
Okay, I want to go back to wellness because we've talked about, like, we had an episode about gut health, sauna, crowd therapy. We're both like into fitness a lot. Is there anything you do on like a day-to-day basis or weekly basis just for like overall like health and wellness?
Yeah. I definitely try to drink enough water.
Okay.
Take my vitamins in the morning, especially, oh my God, vitamin D, vitamin C. I take my iron, my pre and probiotic.
Yeah, I love it.
All that good stuff. And that just makes me feel good. Like in the morning, it's like I chug my water, I take my vitamins. I have a hatch alarm.
Oh, yeah. Is that the one that lights the
which has been really good for my sleep hygiene, but also like I'm kind of like, is that because I paid so much money for it that's like placebo? And I'm like, no, it has to work. I'm gonna decide that I'll have good sleep. So I mean that, and also just like I feel like if you have a good skincare routine, oh my God, that's a huge one.
What's your skincare routine?
It's honestly become more simple as I've gotten older. I feel like I just do like a face wash, like a Paula's Choice face wash, and then I do like Kiehl's moisturizer, and then a sunscreen in the morning.
Okay.
And then at night, it's like,
Yeah, I heard that, like, honestly, less is more with skincare because, like, you've seen those videos where everyone's, like, piling layers of 7 layers. It's like, is your skin even absorbing them?
it's like those like weird mixtures of, like, acids and whatnot. But I will say I do get chemical peels and I get hydrofacials. So, like, being consistent with those. But, like, when it comes to my day-to-day skincare, like, I do use, like, a clean face towel every single day, though. I don't use the same one, twice. And then I just, like, wash all of them. But I think that helps, too.
Yeah. I was going to ask, so you said you do, it's not night shift, evening shift, right?
Yeah.
So what are those hours? And then what does your work schedule usually look like right now?
Yeah. So usually it's the off shift. So typical, like, nursing shifts are from, like, 7 p.m. to, like, 7 a.m. or 7 to 3, and then 3 to 11, and then 11 to 7. If you can think about that.
Yeah.
But I usually work at 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. This week, I've been working 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. because this one unit we have is only open from those hours.
Is it 3 days a week or 4?
So I work as much as I want.
Okay.
This week, it was like 50-something, which is why I called off today. I was like, there's no way. Sorry. But I now have this job where I can, like, plan work around my life and not vice versa. So I just put work in wherever I have gaps.
Yeah.
And it's been fine. And they take what they can because they're short all the time.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, if you want to come in for 4 hours, great.
That's nice.
So
Yeah, and they want to keep you around too, so they have to keep you happy.
Yeah.
because like they know they have you, and they need you more than I guess you need that.
Oh, yeah.
type of thing.
yeah.
Yes.
Since you're talking about hours of working, let's talk about salary. Well,
Okay. Yeah.
You were hourly then. Or
I'm
are you
still
separately? Okay,
Yeah,
you're
I've
hourly.
been hourly like my entire career.
okay.
But I think that, do you want to talk about like new grad salary?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So new grad salary, I didn't know how much was a lot. Because when I was in nursing school, I was working at LA Fitness and I was getting paid like, oh my God, like 13 an hour. And I was like, I'm rich. What do you mean? But I think my first job was 29 an hour.
Okay.
And then there was,
Is it always hourly for nurses?
yeah, not unless you have a position in management.
Oh,
And then your salary. It's because we work overtime and then like holiday pay,
see.
all that stuff. But my first job, I believe we were at like 29 an hour. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Okay. What? Gotcha.
And then there was like a $3 raise across the board for everyone. So then I think it went up to like 32, but I was working night shift. So you have the differential for night shift, you have weekend differential, time and a half for overtime. And then if you're a preceptor, you get a differential as well.
Gotcha.
And if you're a charge nurse. So then I was making 33. I think when I went to labor and delivery, it was like 34.
Okay.
But then I went back as travel, no travel, and I was 85 an hour.
Oh my goodness, that is a huge 85 hour. Is that pretty typical for travel? Because I feel like I've heard different things for
Yeah.
travel nursing.
Yeah. So around here, that was like the best I could get,
Okay.
which is why I went back.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Then they cut it down to 70,
They cut it down. So you went from that 85.
85 to 70. And now,
What the reason was?
I mean, I think they were just having budget cuts. They cut our employee discount for food in the cafeteria from 15% to 10. I was like, you guys, please.
Heck.
But yeah, so it went down to 70. And then now that I'm a float nurse, it's 65, but we get the differentials. So with the differentials and me working evenings, I still get around 70.
Okay. That's really good.
Yeah.
70 an hour.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just like love talking about salary transparency and stuff like that just because like no one talks about it. And
Yeah.
and there's literally like I was just talking to a coworker and he said new grad PT in like more upstate New York was like 55K a year. And we were like, what the like that's so freaking low.
Yeah.
100 degree, that's insane. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's definitely good to talk about because it's good to know like what you can get into or where you can go with it. And which is why I say like I will never be a staff nurse again. There's no way.
Wait, I have a question. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. yeah.
So is the 70, do you get a stipend too? Or is that with the stipend?
That's like 70 an hour. That's what you get.
Okay.
I technically don't get that's fully taxed.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So ours is different then.
Yeah.
Okay. Because with us, well, I do internal travel. So I work with the same company. I'm actually salaried.
Okay.
But Alice is external. So the pay is a little bit different. But regardless, you get a travel stipend and that's non-taxed.
Oh, okay.
And for us, like a majority of our pay, they try to max out the stipends because that's non-tax. So a majority of our pay is like non-tax, which is where a lot of like savings, I guess, come. Yeah.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
Yeah. We honestly, because of us, like multiple people in our class, like a lot of people on social media have found us and heard about it because we actually talk about it and they have switched over to travel.
Yeah.
Because I think that if more and more people switch, because like being a perm is just not worth it anymore with the degree that we have to have.
Yeah.
I think finally that's going to spark some change.
yeah.
Like in the past year, so we have something called the PT Compact. So there's like 30 something states in the compact. And if you are based in that state, and you have a license in that state, your license can kind of cover all those other 30 states. So it's a little bit easier.
Oh,
Not to like apply separately each time. It's like a whole process. But they said that this past year, they sold the most compact licenses that they ever have. And I'm like, yes, that's a good sign because people are like standing up to him being like, I'm not going to take this.
there has to like be a change with their staff for sure because it's not livable. Oh my gosh, especially with how hard it is to get a degree to work in healthcare and you're paying.
And how expensive it is to get.
Yeah, and all the trauma you go to, hello, like you go to hello, like please, yeah, or at least like offer free therapy if you're gonna pay me like 30 an hour.
The compassion fatigue is real.
Is so real, and the decisions you have to make.
Yeah. Like people out of healthcare completely don't understand it.
No.
And we can't even begin to explain it. Like you have to be fully thrown in it to even slightly understand.
No, seriously, that's so true.
We were talking about compassion fatigue, and I was like, I can't even imagine like in the hospital nurses, like how your level of compassion fatigue is.
It's crazy.
Do you just feel that all the time? Because I feel reading some days I'm just like either numb or I feel so bad. I'm numb and I act like a bitch, or I'm like
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of hard. Like, I feel like it's different every day. Like, and I feel like there are some situations where I'm like, I can only feel so compassionate. Like, I remember having this patient who got a double lung transplant. The guy had cigarettes and like vape pens. And I'm like, dude, you just got a double lung transplant, you know? But then there are other people where I'm like, life is not fair. I can't believe this happened to this person. So I feel like it's very situational. But at the end of the day, it's like I have to take care of them the best I can. And you kind of have to like put your feelings in the back and like do what you can. And there's like the difference between like caring about someone and caring for them. And they've taught us that in school, which is really interesting because like you don't really think about it. And it's the caring for them that's super important. No, because you can care about like what they did during their life, or like how many kids they've adopted, or like even if they're a criminal, like you got to like put that to the side, and you just really need to like focus on what the plan is and how to make it.
Yeah. I even noticed with myself, like, because we talk a lot, we get like a thorough history, and then like, you know, there's certain things that come up when patients are talking, and just being in PT can get really emotional. And sometimes I'll notice myself, like they'll start crying, and sometimes I'm like, here, do you get a tissue? Like, and that's how I could kind of get out. But even just offering like that little thing is like, you know, you can tell that they're so grateful.
Yeah.
But I've had a lot of patients, because we spend a lot of time with our patients. Like sometimes we'll see them twice a week for like weeks on end. And so you get really close with them. But you kind of get to know a lot about them. And sometimes I'll have patients be like, oh, wait, I forgot you're not my therapist. You're just my physical therapist.
Oh, okay, whatever you want to say.
Talk about whatever you want. Or like giving you my professional advice because I don't have that education. But
No, it's okay.
yeah. Well, the thing that we really want to talk about most, and this is like a lot of your content too.
Oh my gosh.
Is what is dating like in Chicago?
The dating. I literally just texted my agent today because I have a dream list of all the brands I want to work with.
Yeah.
I was like, throw Hinge and Bumble on there. Throw Hinge and Bumble on there. We have to work with them. I feel like the dating pool here is so big yet so small at the same time. And I feel like there's some guys, I go on their Instagram profile and it's like all my girlfriends that are on dating apps are like also matched with them. So I'm kind of like, this kind of sucks. I think the thing that makes it harder is like when you work in healthcare, you need to date a guy who truly understands like what you're going through. My other thing is like I don't have any sympathy for someone who tells me they had a hard day at work and they were literally sitting at their desk.
Literally work from home? Absolutely not.
Yeah, I'm
Don't
like,
even
okay.
talk to me.
Meanwhile, you know what my bad day is? My bad day is someone died on me. So
Yeah, it's the same.
so that's really hard. But I mean, I feel like just dating in general is just so difficult out here. It's fun. It's fun. And luckily, like now I'm at that place where it's like at the bottom of my like priorities of all the things. But yeah, don't date doctors.
I was gonna say, have you dabbled in that?
Yes, I have. Okay, what's your reasoning for saying don't date doctors?
I've only had bad experiences.
I will second that.
I've only had shit.
So what's actually funny is my boyfriend, we've been together for 6.5 years.
Oh my God, is he a doctor? Sorry.
No, he's not, but he was originally planning to be. So he is on the pre-med, like his dad's a doctor. He was going to be a doctor, like literally studying for the MCAT, about to take it. COVID hit, and he switched to like tech.
Really?
Software development.
Yeah. And I was like, honestly, I'm so freaking glad because I did not want to be with the doctor. I did not want to deal with all of the schooling and all
can't
the
imagine.
things.
Yeah.
And just like, yeah.
I know. I think there's that initial attraction because it's like you need to be super dedicated and hardworking to get through it. And I love that because I love a hardworking guy and I love a guy that's busy. I can't deal with someone who's stagnant.
No.
Too much free time is crazy to me. Absolutely not. And I love that like initially, but it's like the guys I've dated that are doctors like either have told me after the fact that they're in a serious relationship Or they're like, my ex reached out to me, sorry. And I'm like, you gotta go fuck yourself.
What the heck?
Yeah.
I've seen it where. What about physical therapists?
They're all women. All the
I guess it's fair.
they're all women. And I love them. Oh my God. I love my physical therapists at work. But like, they're all women. I would say the guy physical therapist.
What about a male nurse? What are those like?
I feel like there's, oh my gosh. Some of them are so great. My best nursing friend, he's a guy. And I love him to death. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I would like jump in front of a car for him. But a lot of them mansplain. And I hate that.
Yeah, like I know what you're talking about. You don't have to.
And they'll kind of like,
doctors too.
and they'll kind of be like, why didn't the doctor order X, Y, and Z? And it's like, dude, if you're going to be a doctor, you should have just gone to med school.
Exactly.
Like, I can't stand this. Though that's my thing with male nurses. But I don't know.
Type.
Girl, tall, dark, and handsome is my type. But I'm really not picky. Someone that's smart, funny, can like have a good conversation with me. My biggest thing is like someone who's masculine, because I feel like I bring on like very masculine energy because I'm loud and outspoken. So someone who can handle that would be great.
That's fair. Yeah. You definitely give more of like alpha female vibes as well. And like I definitely have that too. So like I get what you're saying. It's like they can't be too masculine. Like you've got to kind of overpower them sometimes. They got to have a little femme to them.
Yeah, seriously. But also not someone I can like step all over because I hate that.
They got to have a good balance.
Yeah. I love someone who can like know how to like disagree with me. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's what I love most right now about my boyfriend is like my last boyfriend. Like I would just have to push him around, like tell him to do everything. Like I felt more like it was like a child.
Yeah, like
you know,
You're like mother one.
yeah. And now like I love when someone like speaks out against me or like challenges me, and that's what's really important to me. And my boyfriend right now, he's also PT, so we do travel together.
that's so sweet.
Yeah, we're working at the same clinic right now, which I'm like we're spending way too much time together.
Yeah, it was great. He was taking our college time.
He was so badass. Yeah, I went in my first year dating somebody else and then went through a breakup. Actually took a year off in between PT school. Came back, joined her class.
Oh my
Met
God.
Mel, met this guy. And so like it was all meant to be. But yeah, I 100% agree. Like I need somebody to challenge me and I need someone to speak up.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah,
I think that's my strong thing.
Strong personalities for sure.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, we want to kind of wrap up. So we want to thank you so much for finding the time in your busy schedule between school, work, social media, everything else in between.
Thanks for having me. I had so much fun.
And it's a rare occurrence that we're both in Chicago, and the fact that you were able to make this and work it all out, we really appreciate it. It was so great hearing your perspective as a travel nurse and a student. And kind of get to know you on social media a little bit in the past month. Like I know we've both been kind of stalking you a little bit. And I find myself like laughing out loud at some of your videos and like that. But like I know I'm gonna love her in person. Yeah. Where can everybody find you on social media?
So my TikTok and Instagram are both the same. It's my first name and last name. So Mercedes Balingit, then another T at the end. Yeah, and I hope they don't ban TikTok. But I mean, if they do, I'm on Instagram, you guys.
We have like more TikTok followers too than Instagram.
Like it's grown exponentially compared to like Instagram's like
Yeah.
So if you guys enjoyed this episode, please leave us a rating on Spotify.
It helps us.
You know, it really helps us grow and get more lovely guests on the podcast like Mercedes. Make sure you're subscribed so that you get a reminder every Tuesday when a new episode drops. We will see you guys next week. Bye. Bye.